I was pulling into the apartment complex parking lot when my entire world shifted on its axis. It was just another ordinary Thursday evening, exhausted from work, thinking about what Declan and I might order for dinner tonight. I shifted into reverse, positioning the car carefully between the white lines, when suddenly sound erupted from the speakers, Declan's voice. At first, confusion washed over me. I glanced at the dashboard screen, Bluetooth connected, displaying Declan's iPhone. He borrowed my car occasionally, so his phone must have automatically paired when he came within range. Maybe he was inside the apartment on a call and the signal was strong enough for my car's system to catch it. I assumed he was calling me, but there was no incoming ring notification. This was an ongoing conversation, accidentally broadcasting through my speakers. "Read, baby. Seriously. I promise you this is the last time." Declan's voice came through crystal clear. "Baby?" My hand froze on the brake pedal. The engine was still running. The car sat halfway into the parking space. Who was Reed? And why was Declan calling someone else baby? "Declan, you said the same thing last week." Another voice answered through the speakers. Masculine, frustrated, wounded. "How much longer do I wait? You're still living with Ash like everything's normal." Ash, my name. They were talking about me. I jerked the car fully into the spot and killed the engine. But the Bluetooth remained connected. The phone signal was powerful. I sat completely motionless, holding my breath to hear better. "Look, Reed. I understand you're upset," Declan said, his voice carrying that tenderness I thought was reserved only for me. "But I can't just dump Ash out of nowhere. He needs preparation, a gradual transition. He's so emotional. If I break up with him suddenly, he'll completely fall apart." "So what, you care about his feelings that much?" Reed sounded jealous. Declan laughed. He actually laughed. "No man, I don't care about his feelings. I care about my reputation. Think about it, if I just leave him abruptly, what will people say? Everyone thinks we're the perfect couple. I don't want to make myself the villain here. That's why I'm preparing him psychologically, bit by bit. Just last night I dropped a hint about needing some space." Space. Last night when Declan casually mentioned we should focus on our individual growth, I thought he was being supportive of my career. But he was mentally conditioning me for abandonment. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. A sharp pain bloomed in my chest. "How much more time, Declan?" Reed asked impatiently. 2 weeks maximum," Declan answered with disturbing confidence. "Here's the plan. This weekend I'm taking him to my parents' beach house. One last romantic getaway. I'll take cute pictures, post them on social media so later when we break up, people will understand we tried but it just didn't work. Then next week I'll gradually start seeming busier, coming home late, being distant. He'll realize on his own that the relationship is dying, and then I'll frame the breakup as a mutual decision." My entire body went numb. This was all scripted? Choreographed? "And what about me?" Reed asked softly. "After that you'll officially be with me." "Obviously, baby," Declan said, excitement clear in his tone. "I've already looked at an apartment downtown, near your office. We'll live together properly. Ash was just a mistake, a phase. You're my reality, Reed. You're successful, mature, established. Ash, he's still struggling through his internship. His life has no real direction. I can't build my future with someone like that." Struggle, no direction, phase, mistake. Each word stabbed into my chest like sharpened knives. 3 years. I'd spent 3 years with this person, adjusted my dreams to fit his, stayed away from my family because Declan preferred this city. And now I was just a mistake. "Declan, think carefully," Reed cautioned. "What if he finds out?" Declan laughed again, carefree, dismissive. "Reed, how would Ash find out? He's so naive, man. Like an innocent puppy. He never suspects anything. Just yesterday he baked my favorite muffins because I mentioned being stressed at work. He thinks I love him so much. He has no idea. Puppy, innocent, naive. He thought I was... That's stupid." "Fine." Reed finally relented. 2 weeks, Declan. But if you delay again, I'm done. I'm nobody's second choice." "You were never second, baby," Declan said in that romantic tone. "You've always been first priority. The timing just wasn't right before. Now everything will be perfect." The call disconnected. Silence. In the parking lot, only my own rapid breathing filled the air. Another car sat parked far away. Nobody was around. I was alone, with my shattered heart, with my crumbling dreams. I dropped my forehead against the dashboard, closed my eyes. Was everything a lie? Those morning coffees when he kissed me goodbye? Lies. Those nights when he held me close and whispered, "You're my everything." Lies. Those promises about our future together? All lies. Tears didn't come. Perhaps the shock was too massive for my body to process. There was just this hollow sensation in my chest, like someone had reached inside and scooped everything out. I looked at the screen. Bluetooth still showed Declan's iPhone connected, but no more voices came through. He must have finished the call and gone back inside the apartment. Our apartment, on the 4th floor, where he was probably waiting now. Maybe cooking dinner, my favorite pasta. Maybe lighting candles. All preparation for his romantic final trip. Scripted, planned, fake. I slowly raised my head and looked in the rearview mirror. My face was pale. My eyes were red from shock. Was this me? Was this the same Ash who loved Declan so deeply? No, I wasn't that Ash anymore. Now I was the Ash who knew the truth. I opened the car door, stepped out, looked up at the apartment building, lights glowing in windows, normal lives continuing for other people. But my life? It had just ended. Or perhaps this was a new beginning. If Declan thought he was giving me one final romantic trip, fine. If he thought he would mutually break up with me, fine. I would follow his script. But the ending? The ending would be mine, because now I knew everything. And when someone betrays you, revenge isn't always necessary. Sometimes, saving yourself is enough. I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders and walked toward the building, toward the boyfriend who was waiting for me, completely unaware that I now knew all his plans. The game had changed, and this time I held all the cards. Standing in the elevator, my heart pounded against my ribs. The 4th floor was approaching. Our floor, Mrs. Chen, our neighbor, entered on the 3rd floor. "Ash dear," she beamed at me. "Declan's home. I saw him this morning with grocery bags. Must be making something special for you." I forced a smile onto my face, a mask that felt foreign now. "Yes, Mrs. Chen. Special dinner. Special. Everything was special. Scripted, performance art." The elevator doors opened. I stepped out, stood before apartment 4. Music drifted from inside. My favorite playlist. A delicious aroma wafted out. Italian food, probably carbonara. My favorite dish. Declan was delivering a perfect performance, exactly as he'd planned in that conversation with Reed. "He won't suspect a thing," he'd said. Now I would see just how confident he was in his acting ets. I pulled out my keys. My hands trembled slightly. I took a deep breath. "Compose yourself, Ash," and unlocked the door. "I'm home," I called out, trying to sound as normal as possible. "Baby." Declan emerged from the kitchen wearing an apron, his face displaying that perfect smile that now seemed completely artificial. He pulled me into a tight, warm embrace. This hug used to feel safe. Today it felt suffocating. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing my forehead, a routine gesture now utterly devoid of emotion. I mechanically returned the embrace. "It was good. You're busy at the office, but I kept thinking about you," he said sweetly. "That's why I came home early. I'm making your favorite carbonara." And I picked up wine, thinking about me, even while he was on the phone with Reed. "Sounds wonderful," I said, setting my bag on the couch. "Let me freshen up." I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and stood before the sink. In the mirror I saw the pain in my eyes that I was desperately trying to conceal. I splashed cold water on my face. The shock of it cleared my head slightly. "Pull yourself together, Ash. Don't break down. Not yet. He thinks you're weak, naive. Prove him wrong." I stared at myself in the mirror and said silently but firmly, "You are strong. You can do this." When I emerged, the dinner table was beautifully arranged, candles flickering, flowers in a vase, my favorite white lilies, wine glasses positioned perfectly. "What's all this?" I asked innocently, as if I truly didn't understand why. Declan shrugged casually. "Do I need a special reason? I just wanted to pamper my boyfriend. In 2 weeks I would just be his ex in his mind once he completed his script." We sat down at the table. Declan poured the wine, raised his glass. To us, I repeated, lifting my own glass. False cheers. empty promises. During dinner, Declan talked about the office, about colleagues, about future plans. I listened, responded appropriately, smiled when expected. But in my mind was processing everything differently now. Every word he spoke sounded different. Every smile seemed suspicious. Every touch felt counterfeit. By the way, Ash, Declan said casually, swirling his wine glass, I was thinking we should go to my parents' beach house this weekend. Just you and me. What do you think? The beach house, his planned final romantic getaway, content for social media, pictures for the look how hard we tried narrative. I wanted to scream, I know everything, Declan. I know your entire plan, but I didn't. I maintained control. That sounds incredible, I said, feigning excitement. I'm actually free this weekend. Perfect timing. Declan's smile faltered slightly. Perhaps he expected me to make excuses, to show resistance, but I was doing the exact opposite. Great, he said, though confusion flickered in his eyes. I'll confirm the booking tomorrow. Perfect, I smiled. A smile that was now proof of my own acting skills. That night when we went to bed, Declan cuddled against me, one arm around my waist, the other in my hair. Routine. This routine used to bring comfort. Tonight it felt like torture. I lay facing away from him. My eyes were open in the darkness. Then his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Light flashed briefly. I turned my head slightly. I could see the notification on the screen. Read, can't wait for tomorrow night. Missing you already. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow. Declan would tell me he has a late meeting at the office and actually go see Reed. My jaw clenched, my fists tightened, but I remained silent. Motionless. Declan didn't check his phone either. He was asleep or pretending to be. I lay there too. But sleep? Sleep was impossible. My mind was racing with plans. If Declan was going to mutually leave me in 2 weeks, then I needed to start my own planning. Before he could hurt me further, I would prepare my escape route. Declan had unknowingly given me 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, I would write my own ending. And this ending Declan would never forget. Morning came. The alarm sounded. I woke first deliberately. Declan was still sleeping peacefully. No guilt visible on his face. No tension in his features. Why would there be? He felt successful in his scheming. I went to the kitchen and did something unusual for a weekday. I cooked breakfast, pancakes, scrambled eggs, fresh coffee, everything perfect. When Declan wandered into the kitchen, half asleep, hair messy, he looked shocked. Ash, why are you up so early? He asked through a yawn, confused. I thought I'd make you something special, I said sweetly, serving pancakes onto a plate. You mentioned stress at work yesterday. Start today with a good breakfast. Declan studied me suspiciously as if wondering whether I knew something. But I gave him that perfect innocent smile, the one he called puppy-like. This is really thoughtful, Ash, he said slowly, sitting at the table. Thank you. Anything for you, I said. And technically, this was true. I was doing this for him, and for myself. I sat across from him. It appeared to be a normal breakfast. But underneath, war was brewing. Actually, I said casually, sipping my coffee, I'm going shopping today for the beach house trip. Need some new clothes. Declan's fork stopped midair. Oh, you seem very excited about this trip. Of course, I said innocently. Alone time with you, away from the city. Sounds ideal. Confusion and discomfort flashed in his eyes. He wanted me to be resistant, busy, making excuses, but I was doing precisely the opposite, eager, enthusiastic, cooperative. This wasn't in his script. Yeah, it'll be great, he said awkwardly. When Declan was getting ready for work, he hugged me. I might be late today. Important meeting at the office. Meeting. He actually had dinner plans with Reed. No problem, I said with a smile. I'll wait up, have dinner ready. He blinked, surprised. Ash, you're very understanding. Understanding? Or do you think I'm stupid? You work so hard, Declan, I said sweetly. I support you. Guilt flickered across his face, but only briefly. Not enough. After he left, I stood by the apartment window and looked down at the parking lot. Declan sat in his car, texting someone on his phone, probably sending Reed a good morning message. I immediately began my real work. I pulled out my phone, dialed a number I never thought I'd use. Hello? Came the familiar, friendly voice. Coulter, it's Ash. Ash, Brother, it's been months. Coulter, my best friend from college, sounded genuinely thrilled. How have you been? Coulter, I paused, gathering courage. That job offer you mentioned, the one in New York, is it still available? Silence on the other end, then Coulter's voice came back, careful, concerned. Ash, are you serious? You're actually considering it? Yes, I said firmly. I need the details. Salary, relocation package, apartment assistance, everything. Brother, this is fantastic. Coulter's excitement was palpable. I'll email you everything today. But what about Declan? What will he say? I looked around the apartment, the place where I'd spent 3 years, where every corner held memories, where everything now felt contaminated with deception. Declan will find out when the time is right, I said quietly. For now, I just need the information. Understood. I'm sending the email right now. Ash, are you okay? I took a deep breath. I will be, Coulter. I need a fresh start. You'll get it, brother. I promise. After ending the call, I sat on the sofa. The apartment was silent, empty. But along with that emptiness, there was also a strange sense of control emerging. Declan thought he was controlling me. He thought he was preparing me, but the truth was, I was now taking control of my own life. He thought I was naive. I was about to prove him catastrophically wrong. Shortly after, my phone pinged. Coulter's email had arrived. A detailed job offer, salary package, nearly double what I currently made, apartment assistance, relocation benefits, everything official and ready. I opened my laptop and carefully read through every line. New York. A new life. A new version of myself. But not yet. For now, I would let Declan complete his script. He would believe everything remained under his control. 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, and then Declan would discover that even puppies can bare their teeth. I typed a response to Coulter. I'm very interested. Can you hold the position for 2 weeks? I need to handle some matters here first. His reply came instantly. Absolutely, brother. Take whatever time you need. The position is yours whenever you're ready. I closed the laptop and stared out the window. The city continued its normal rhythm below. People heading to offices, lives progressing. But my life was about to transform completely. On my own terms, according to my own planning. And this time the ending would be mine. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I went through the motions, shopping for the beach trip as I'd mentioned, buying new clothes I knew I'd probably never wear with Declan. It was all part of the performance now. I was becoming an actor in his play, but rewriting the final act in secret. When Declan came home that evening, later than usual, probably after spending time with Reed, I had dinner waiting. His favorite meal. I greeted him warmly, asked about his day, listened to his fabricated stories about the meeting that had kept him. You're amazing, Ash, he said, guilt creeping into his voice as we ate. I don't tell you that enough. You show me every day. I lied smoothly, matching his deception with my own. Over the next few days, I played my part flawlessly. I was the perfect boyfriend, supportive, understanding, affectionate. I could see Declan's confusion growing. His script called for me to become clingy and insecure as he pulled away, but instead I was giving him space, encouraging his work commitments, being completely accommodating. I was disrupting his narrative and he didn't know how to respond. Meanwhile, I was methodically preparing. I started slowly packing just a few items at a time. Things Declan wouldn't notice missing. Important documents went into a folder. Sentimental items I wanted to keep were carefully set aside. I was extracting myself from our shared life piece by piece, invisible and silent. I also began mentally detaching. When Declan touched me, I reminded myself it meant nothing. When he spoke words of affection, I translated them into the lies they were. I was building emotional armor, protecting what remained of my heart. The beach house weekend arrived faster than I expected. Declan was animated with excitement. Not because he wanted to spend time with me, but because he was executing his plan. He loaded our bags into the car, put together a perfect road trip playlist, kept reaching over to hold my hand during the drive. This is going to be such a special weekend, he kept saying. Special. The word had lost all meaning. The beach house was beautiful, exactly as I'd imagined from Declan's previous descriptions. Ocean views, rustic charm, complete privacy. Under different circumstances, This would have been romantic. Now it just felt like a stage set for an elaborate lie. That first evening, we walked along the beach as the sun set. Declan pulled me close and kissed me, deep, passionate, convincing. I kissed him back, playing my role, all while feeling absolutely nothing. "I love you, Ash," he whispered against my lips. 3 words. Such easy lies. "I love you too," I responded. And this was the first time those words felt completely hollow in my mouth. The next morning, Declan took photographs. Dozens of them. Us on the beach, in front of the house, watching the sunrise, holding coffee mugs. In every picture we were smiling, looking happy, appearing deeply in love. The perfect couple. The perfect memories. The perfect illusion. I knew exactly where these photos would end up. Posted online with carefully crafted captions. Evidence for later, when he announced our mutual breakup. Look how happy we were. We really tried. But sometimes love isn't enough. The performance continued through the second night. After dinner, as we sat on the couch with wine, fireplace crackling, Declan cleared his throat. "Ash, I want to discuss something with you." My pulse quickened. This was it. He was about to drop his hints. "Of course," I said, turning to face him with feigned innocence. Declan took a measured breath. This was rehearsed. "I've been thinking that maybe we should both focus more intensely on our individual careers right now. You on your internship, me on this upcoming permanent opportunity. Some independent growth might be healthy for our personal development, don't you think?" Independent growth. Code words for breakup preparation. I pretended to consider this thoughtfully, then nodded slowly. "You're absolutely right," I said. "I've actually been feeling like I depend on you too much. Emotionally, I mean. I should really work on building my own life more independently." Declan looked stunned. This wasn't supposed to be this easy. "So, you agree with this?" he asked carefully. "Completely," I said calmly. "Maybe we do need some space. Maintaining individual identities is crucial in healthy relationships." He was utterly confused now. This was his script, but I was agreeing too readily. Control was slipping from his grasp. "Ash, you're not upset about this?" he asked hesitantly. I took his hand. My acting was impeccable now. "Why would I be upset? You're thinking about what's best for both of us. You always do. That's why I love you." Deep guilt flashed through his eyes. Real and profound. But still he said nothing. Just nodded. That night, while he slept, I stood on the balcony watching the ocean. Stars glittered overhead in the darkness. My phone vibrated. Coulter's text. "Apartment is ready. Sending the contract over. Welcome home whenever you're ready." I typed back. "I'll be there next week." This was it. The decision was final. Declan thought he was psychologically preparing me for abandonment, but the truth was, I had already emotionally detached completely. He was playing a game, but I had already won. Because real victory isn't about defeating someone else. Real victory is about saving yourself. And I was saving myself, from Declan. From this counterfeit love. From this toxic relationship. The ending was approaching, and it would be entirely mine. Returning from the beach house felt surreal. The drive back was filled with Declan's chatter about how wonderful the weekend had been. How we should do it again soon. I nodded and smiled, watching the landscape blur past my window, knowing this would be our last trip together. Back at the apartment, Declan's transformation began exactly as he'd planned. It started subtly. He'd check his phone more frequently, excuse himself to take calls in the bedroom, claim exhaustion from work projects that suddenly demanded overtime. "I might need to stay late tomorrow," he mentioned casually over breakfast Monday morning. "Big presentation coming up." "Of course," I replied, buttering my toast. "Do what you need to do." He looked at me strangely, perhaps expecting protest or disappointment. Instead, I was giving him exactly what he wanted. Permission to spend time with Reed guilt-free. Tuesday evening, he texted that he'd be home around 10. He arrived at 9:30, smelling faintly of expensive cologne I'd never bought him. Reed's signature scent, probably. "How was your day?" I asked, setting down the book I'd been reading. "Exhausting," he sighed, loosening his tie. "But productive." Productive. What an interesting word choice for an affair. Wednesday, I took another step in my own plan. While Declan was at work, I began the delicate process of separating our lives. I called the utility companies, removed my name from accounts that were easy to extract myself from. I contacted the landlord privately, explained I'd be moving out, Asked about the lease. Your partner will need to find a roommate or cover the full rent. The landlord informed me. He'll manage, I said simply. Thursday evening, Declan came home with flowers. Gilt flowers I recognized now. Yellow roses. My supposed favorites. Except my actual favorite flowers were white peonies. He'd never paid enough attention to remember. What's the occasion? I asked, accepting them with a practiced smile. Do I need an occasion to appreciate my boyfriend? He countered. The word boyfriend sounded increasingly hollow from his lips. Friday night was when things shifted more dramatically. Declan announced he'd be working through the weekend on a crucial project. Both days? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. Unfortunately, yes. I'm really sorry, Ash. I know we usually spend Saturdays together. It's fine, I assured him. I'll catch up with some friends. I've been neglecting them anyway. This was true. I had been neglecting my friendships, pouring all my energy into a relationship that was already decomposing. Time to rectify that. That Saturday, while Declan was presumably with Reed, I met up with Jeremy and Tasha. Friends from my internship who'd been inviting me out for months. Where have you been hiding? Jeremy asked as we settled into a coffee shop downtown. Lost in a relationship that was going nowhere, I admitted. But I'm finding my way out. Tasha reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Good for you, you deserve better than someone who doesn't prioritize you. She didn't know how right she was. Sunday evening, when Declan returned home, I was cooking dinner, not for him, but because I'd discovered I actually enjoyed cooking when it wasn't performed as relationship maintenance. Something smells amazing, he said, dropping his bag by the door. Just pasta, I replied. There's enough if you want some. You're being really understanding about this weekend, he observed, studying me carefully. I half expected you to be upset about me working so much. Why would I be upset? We're both focused on our careers right now. Remember? Individual growth and all that. I watched his face process this. Confusion mixing with something that might have been relief or might have been concern. His script was unraveling and he couldn't figure out why. The following week brought more of the same. Declan maintained his distance, and I maintained my composure. I packed a box here, transferred a file there, slowly erasing myself from our shared life while he was too preoccupied to notice. Wednesday afternoon, I received the formal contract from Coulter's company. The salary was generous, the benefits comprehensive, the start date flexible. I signed it digitally, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders with each electronic signature. That evening, Declan came home earlier than expected and found me at my laptop. What are you working on? He asked, peering over my shoulder. I closed the screen casually. Just updating my resume. Figured I should be more proactive about my career. Oh, he said, and I couldn't decipher his expression. That's great, Ash. Really great. Was that guilt? Concern? Satisfaction that his subtle pushing was working? Thursday brought an unexpected complication. Mrs. Chen knocked on our door, holding a package that had been delivered to her apartment by mistake. For you, Ash dear, she said, handing me a box. It was from Coulter, a welcome package from the New York office, including a company laptop and orientation materials. What's that? Declan asked after Mrs. Chen left. Just some materials for a webinar I'm attending. I lied smoothly. Professional development stuff. He accepted this without question, already distracted by his phone buzzing with what I assumed were messages from Reed. Friday evening arrived, exactly 2 weeks since I'd overheard that devastating conversation in my car. Declan came home with an unusual nervous energy. Ash, can we talk? He asked, gesturing toward the living room. Something important. This was it. The scripted breakup conversation he'd been building toward. Sure, I said, settling onto the couch with calculated calmness. He sat across from me, hands clasped together, wearing an expression of practiced concern. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, he began. About us, about where we're headed. And I feel like maybe we've been growing in different directions. I let the silence hang between us, watching him squirm slightly. I care about you deeply, Ash. You know that. But I think we both deserve to be with people who are at similar life stages, with compatible goals and timelines. Compatible goals. What a clinical way to describe abandoning someone. Are you breaking up with me? I asked, my voice steady. I think, yes. But I want it to be mutual. I want us to recognize together that this isn't working anymore. That we're holding each other back from becoming who we're meant to be. Mutual. exactly as he'd planned it. I see, I said quietly. You're taking this remarkably well, he observed, suspicion creeping into his tone. What did you expect, Declan? Tears? Begging? Dramatic scenes? I don't know. I just thought you'd be more upset. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the city lights beginning to glow in the dusk. Here's the thing about expectations, I said, turning back to face him. They reveal more about the person holding them than the person they're directed at. His brow furrowed. What does that mean? It means you expected me to fall apart because you've consistently underestimated me. You've mistaken kindness for weakness, trust for naivety. Ash, I don't think— I'm not finished, I interrupted, my voice quiet but firm. You want this to be mutual? Fine. It's mutual. I agree we should break up. In fact, I've been planning this conversation. Now genuine confusion crossed his face. You have? Yes, Declan. I have. And unlike you, my plans don't involve manipulating someone I supposedly care about. I don't understand what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone, finger hovering over the play button for the recorded conversation. Would you like me to refresh your memory? Or should we save that revelation for later? His face went pale. What do you mean? I think we're done for tonight, I said instead. I have a lot to arrange. Moving out takes planning, after all. Moving out? When did you decide? Good night, Declan. I walked to the bedroom, closed the door, and leaned against it, my heart racing but my mind clear. Tomorrow I would show him exactly how much I knew. Tomorrow the ending would truly be mine. Saturday morning arrived with gray skies and the weight of impending confrontation. I woke early, packed the last of my essential items into suitcases I'd hidden in the back of the closet. Declan was still asleep, or pretending to be. I couldn't tell anymore which of his behaviors were genuine. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen counter, and waited. He emerged around 9, hair disheveled, wearing the confused expression of someone whose carefully constructed plan had gone off script. Morning, he mumbled, heading straight for the coffee pot. We need to finish our conversation from last night, I said. He turned, mug halfway to his lips. Ash. About that? I think we should talk about the timeline for you moving out. There's no rush. We can be mature about this. 3 weeks ago, I interrupted. On a Thursday evening, I was parking my car in the lot downstairs. Your phone connected to my car's Bluetooth system. The color drained from his face. I heard everything, Declan. Your entire conversation with Reed. Every word about your plan to psychologically prepare me, to make this breakup seem mutual, to protect your precious reputation. He set the mug down with shaking hands. Ash, I can explain. Explain what? That you've been cheating on me for 3 months? That you called me naive and compared me to a puppy? That you've been manipulating me this entire time? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I demanded, my voice rising for the first time. Please, enlighten me. Tell me how secretly planning to leave me while pretending everything was fine is somehow not exactly what it sounds like. I was trying to spare your feelings. He protested. I didn't want to hurt you by just suddenly ending things. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. So instead, you decided to hurt me by lying to my face every single day? By sleeping in our bed while texting someone else? By taking me on a romantic weekend specifically designed to create evidence for your breakup narrative? You don't understand the pressure I was under. No, Declan. You don't understand what you've done. You treated me like I was stupid. Like I couldn't handle the truth. Like I was some fragile thing that needed careful handling. But you know what? I handled it just fine. In fact, I've been handling it for 3 weeks while you were so confident in your manipulation that you didn't notice I was planning my own exit. He stared at me. What do you mean? I walked to the bedroom, retrieved the folder I'd prepared, and returned to the kitchen. I spread the documents across the counter, the signed job offer, the new apartment lease, the flight confirmation for tomorrow morning. I'm leaving, Declan. Not because you're pushing me out, but because I choose to go. I'm moving to New York. I have a job that pays almost double what I make here. I have an apartment in Manhattan. I have a future that doesn't include you. He picked up the papers with trembling hands, scanning them in disbelief. You've been planning this the whole time. While you were executing your script, I was writing my own ending. The difference is, mine doesn't require lying to someone I claim to love. Ash, please. He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Don't touch me. You lost that right when you betrayed me. I made a mistake. I was confused. Reed was just, he was there when I was stressed and things happened. But you're the one I really— Stop, I cut him off. Don't insult both of us with more lies. You don't love me, Declan. Maybe you never did. And honestly, I'm starting to realize I didn't love you either. I loved who I thought you were. But that person doesn't exist. He never did. Tears were streaming down his face now. So that's it? You're just leaving? I'm leaving tomorrow morning. My flight is at 8. Coulter's meeting me at the airport in New York. What am I supposed to tell people? He asked, and even through everything, the selfishness of this question stunned me. Tell them the truth. Tell them you cheated and I left. Tell them whatever you want. I don't care about your reputation anymore. That's your problem to manage. What about the apartment? The lease is in both our names. I contacted the landlord. He's releasing me from the lease. You'll need to either find someone to cover my half or pay it yourself. I suggest asking Reed. I'm sure he'd love to move in. Declan sank into a chair, head in his hands. I never meant for any of this to happen. That's the problem, Declan. You never mean for anything to happen. You just let it happen and then try to control the fallout. But you can't control me anymore. You can't control how this story ends. Can't we at least talk about this? He pleaded. Maybe go to counseling. Work through. There's nothing to work through. You systematically lied to me while planning to replace me. You called me naive, treated me like an obstacle, and thought I was too stupid to ever figure it out. Why would I want to fix that? 'Cause I'm sorry. 'Cause I realize now what I had, what I'm losing. You're not sorry you did it, Declan. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. I gathered the papers back into the folder. I'll be out of here by tomorrow morning. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. Ash, wait. Goodbye, Declan. I hope Reed makes you happy. I hope you get everything you thought you wanted. And I hope someday you understand what you actually lost. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed my already packed suitcases, and headed for the door. Ash, he called out one last time. I really did love you. I paused at the threshold, looked back at him one final time. No, you didn't. You loved having someone who adored you, who made your life easier, who fit into your plans, but you never actually knew me, Declan. If you had, you would have known I'm not naive, I'm trusting. I'm not weak, I'm kind. And I'm definitely not someone who stays where I'm not valued. Please don't do this. I'm not doing anything to you, I'm doing something for myself. There's a difference though, I don't expect you to understand it. I walked out, pulling the door closed behind me. Behind it I could hear him crying. Genuine tears. Probably now that he was losing something he'd taken for granted. But they weren't my problem anymore. I took the elevator down, walked through the lobby and stepped out into the overcast morning. My phone buzzed. A text from Colt. Excited for tomorrow? New York's ready for you. I typed back. More than ready. See you at the airport. As I climbed into the waiting taxi, heading toward my hotel, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Relief, freedom, hope. The old Ash would have stayed, would have tried to fix things, would have accepted blame for a relationship one person destroyed. But I wasn't that Ash anymore. I was someone stronger. Someone who knew their worth. Someone with a future that finally belonged only to me. 6 months had transformed everything. I stood at my apartment window watching Manhattan wake up on a crisp Sunday morning. The city sprawled below me, alive with possibility. My coffee was hot, my schedule was clear, and for the first time in years I felt completely at peace. The transition to New York had been smoother than expected. Coulter's company welcomed me warmly. Within a month I'd proven my worth on a major project. Within 3 I'd earned my first promotion. By month 5 I was leading my own team. But the professional success, while gratifying, wasn't the most significant change. I'd rediscovered myself. The gym membership I'd purchased in week 2 had become a daily ritual. Not to change my appearance but to reclaim my body as my own. Each workout felt like shedding another layer of who I'd been forced to become. I joined a book club, started taking photography classes on weekends, learned to cook properly instead of just making someone else's favorites. Small things perhaps, but together they formed a complete person, someone I was genuine to be. Declan had tried to contact me, of course. The first week brought dozens of calls and messages, progressing from apologies to anger to bargaining and back to apologies. I'd blocked him after the 15th voicemail. Tired of hearing variations of the same excuse. He'd made a mistake. He wanted another chance. He realized now what he'd lost. But I wasn't something to be lost and found. I wasn't a possession he could reclaim when he decided the grass wasn't greener. Reed had reached out too, about a month after I'd left. His message was surprisingly honest. You were right about him. He cheated on me with someone from his gym. I should have listened. I'm sorry for my part in hurting you. I'd responded simply, I hope you find someone who deserves you. Someone honest. Take care of yourself. There was no satisfaction in being right. No joy in his pain. Just a quiet acknowledgement that some people never change, and some lessons have to be learned through experience. Today was different though. Today carried a flutter of nervous anticipation I hadn't felt since arriving in New York. I was meeting Steven for brunch. We'd met last Sunday at the coffee shop I'd adopted as my regular spot. I'd been absorbed in a novel when suddenly cold liquid splashed across my shirt and lap. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. A voice full of genuine horror made me look up. Brown hair that looked perpetually windswept, green eyes wide with mortification, freckles scattered across his nose. He was fumbling with napkins, trying to help and making it worse. It's okay, I'd said, laughing despite the coffee now soaking through my clothes. Accidents happen. No, it's absolutely not okay, please. Let me buy you a replacement. And pay for dry cleaning. I'm so clumsy I shouldn't be allowed around hot beverages before noon. His rambling anxiety was oddly endearing. How about you just buy me a coffee and we call it even? Relief had flooded his features. Yes, absolutely. I'm Steven, by the way. Steven, the destroyer of shirts and dignity. Ash. Ash, the surprisingly chill victim of beverage assaults. We'd ended up talking for 2 hours. He was a freelance photographer recently relocated from Portland to build his portfolio in a bigger market. He spoke about his work with genuine passion, showed me shots on his phone, street photography that captured moments of unexpected beauty in ordinary scenes. Why New York? I'd asked. Fresh start, he'd answered. My last relationship was complicated, unhealthy really. I needed distance to figure out who I was outside of that dynamic. The honesty struck me. I understand that completely. I moved here 6 months ago for similar reasons. Did it work? The fresh start? I'd considered this carefully. It's working. I'm learning that healing isn't linear and building yourself back up takes time. But yes, it's working. Something in my answer made him smile. Not the polite social smile, but something genuine and warm. Would you maybe want to get coffee again? He'd asked. Intentionally this time, without the assault component. I'd hesitated. The old wounds were still tender. Trust felt dangerous, but Steven wasn't Declan. This conversation wasn't performance, it was real. Awkward and honest and real. How about brunch next Sunday? I'd suggested. His face had lit up. That sounds perfect. Now as I got ready for that brunch, I examined my reflection carefully, not checking if I looked good enough for someone else's standards, but making sure I recognized the person staring back. I did. Finally I did. The restaurant Steven had suggested was a small French place in the West Village. I arrived 5 minutes early and found him already there, nervously rearranging the silverware. Hey, I said, approaching the table. He looked up, and his nervous expression melted into a smile. Hey, you look great. You too. We settled into our seats, and conversation flowed more easily than I'd anticipated. He told me about a commission he'd landed, a series for a local magazine. I described a project I was leading at work, the challenge of managing a team for the first time. Can I ask you something? Steven said as we finished our eggs. Of course. Your last relationship, the one that brought you to New York. Are you over it? I appreciated the directness. I'm over him, definitely, but I'm still processing what it taught me about myself. Does that make sense? Complete sense. I'm in therapy actually, working through my own patterns. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes with different people. This vulnerability, this willingness to acknowledge imperfection, felt revolutionary after Declan's constant performance. That's incredibly mature, I said. Or incredibly damaged, he joked. But there was real concern beneath it. I want to be upfront with you, Ash. I like you. But I come with baggage, trust issues, probably too many walls up. If that's too much, we all come with baggage. I interrupted gently. The question is whether we're working on unpacking it or just carrying it around indefinitely. He met my eyes. I'm definitely in the unpacking phase. So am I? We talked for another hour. then walked through the village together, conversation continuing naturally. At a bookstore, we discovered a shared love for mystery novels. At a park, we sat on a bench and he showed me more of his photography work. "This is my favorite," he said, showing me a shot of an elderly couple dancing on a subway platform, completely lost in their own world despite the chaos around them. "It's beautiful. What made you take it?" I loved that they'd created their own moment, independent of what anyone else thought or needed. They were just completely present with each other. I studied the image again, understanding what he meant. That's what I want someday. Not performance or script or trying to be what someone else needs. Just authentic presence. "Me too," he said quietly. As the afternoon faded into evening, we found ourselves back near my apartment building. "I had a really good time today," Steven said. "So did I. Could we do this again? Maybe dinner next week?" I smiled. "I'd like that." He leaned in tentatively and I met him halfway in a brief, sweet kiss. Nothing dramatic or overwhelming, just gentle and real and full of possibility. Walking back to my apartment, I felt something shift inside. Not completion, I wasn't looking for someone else to complete me anymore. But openness, readiness to try again. Carefully and honest, my phone buzzed. Coulter checking in about dinner plans next weekend. I typed back, "Absolutely. And I'm bringing someone. His name's Steven." The response was immediate. "Tell me everything." I laughed, settling onto my couch with genuine contentment. Declan's chapter had closed. That story was finished. But mine was just beginning. Not a story about recovery from betrayal, but about discovery of self. Not about what I'd lost, but about what I'd gained. Not about endings, but about all the beautiful, uncertain beginnings still ahead. I was enough, all on my own. And anything else? That was just possibility waiting to unfold.